Good morning. One of the major questions that comes up this year is what is the proper time to eat the Purim Seudah? When it falls on Erev Shabbos, we likely cannot have the Seudah at the same time that we typically do. And so when should we have it? The first question is when should we have it on a typical year? So there are different approaches as to the best time to have it. And many of us adopt the minhag of the Ramah, which is to begin later in the day and continue then into the evening. This comes from a Chumas Hadeshen and others who had observed this custom. However, what is clear is that one who has the Purim Seudah only at night does not fulfill their mitzvah. Many, including the Shlah HaKadosh, had very strong practices that one should have the Purim Seudah in the morning as early as possible, even on a typical year. The primary reason being that we don't want, says the Shlah, to end up missing Marav altogether or miss the mitzvah midoraisa of Kriya Shema at night. And therefore, he says very strongly that one should have it in the morning. Others oppose that practice because of the concern of davening mincha while intoxicated. And therefore, there are valid practices on a typical year to have it in the morning or later in the day, beginning during the daytime, but certainly having it only at night would not fulfill one's obligation. The other thing to consider is that on a typical Erev Shabbos, there is a prohibition of eating a Seudah immediately before Shabbos. What exactly does that mean is a matter of debate, but the bottom line is that the Shulchan Aruch rules that we should avoid certainly having a Seudah after Mincha Ketana 2.5 hours before Shkia, and ideally really should conclude any substantive meal by then. What happens if there's a Seudas mitzvah? So the Ramah points out that one could have a Seudas mitzvah even later in the day. However, it is preferable, and the Mishnah Berurah recommends to move it to the morning, even if it's a Seudas mitzvah, if that can be accommodated. The bottom line then, when Purim falls out on Erev Shabbos, there are those, the strongest practice seems to be, and this is the suggestion of many of our poskim, is that we have the Seudah this year in the morning of Purim. It would be strange, but it is nonetheless halachically seemingly the best option. There is another option that some consider of Puris Mapa Umikadesh, of having it later in the day, right before Shabbos, and then just stopping in the middle of the meal to make Kiddush. However, Rav Shechter has already very vehemently opposed such a practice unless one has a long-standing practice to do so in their community. So our post can recommend that the ideal time is to have it earlier in the morning, if not to at least conclude by Mincha Ketana, which in Chicago is 2:48 p.m. on this Friday. And in another pressing circumstance, then one should consult that individual case with their Rav. Have a great night, great day.